They had that magic, and we wanted the world to know what we knew.
Who was a bad person who wanted to do this. He was just under that control.
It seemed like I was always under pressure from Berry.
Berry Gordy named 13 Black MoTown stars who are gay, and the fifth on the list would leave you shocked. From Billy Preston suffering from abuse, leaving him traumatized.
He was really tormented by that. That's what basically screwed up his entire life, was that situation that happened when he was a little boy, about 9 years old.
To the wild speculation that Smokey Robinson and Berry himself had an affair.
I love you, man. You are so precious. You are so precious.
And even Luther Vandross quietly dealing with his own demons.
Yeah, my friend Luther was gay. But he was...
There's clearly more to tell about these stars. Let's dive in. Kicking it off with the most talked about, Smokey Robinson.
We paint a picture walking down the street.
Smokey and Berry Gordy are two names that'll always be tied together because of Motown. But lately, people have been saying their story might be way deeper than we ever thought. When Smokey once looked straight into the camera and called Gordy the love of my life, he didn't laugh or smile. He was dead serious, and just like that, an old rumor found new life. Smokey and Berry go way back, long before Motown became the empire it is. In the late 50s, Berry was just a songwriter chasing hits, while Smokey was a young dreamer scribbling lyrics. They clicked instantly. Berry saw talent in Smokey, and Smokey saw someone who believed in him before anyone else did. That bond built Motown's foundation. Smokey became one of its first stars, writing for The Temptations, Mary Wells, and Marvin Gaye, while Berry turned the label into a powerhouse. Fans couldn't ignore how close they were. Berry wasn't just Smokey's boss, he was there for everything, from birthdays to rehab. When Smokey battled crack addiction in the 80s, Berry stepped in and helped him get clean, which got people talking. Years later, Smokey called Berry the love of my life in an interview. No jokes, no hesitation. Some saw it as brotherhood, others thought it meant more.
I love you, man. You are so precious. You are so precious.
Either way, in Motown's secretive world, that one line said a lot. Next up is Johnny Bristol, a man whose talent shaped some of Motown's most emotional songs from behind the scenes. As a songwriter and producer, he worked with stars like Gladys Knight and the Pips and the Supremes, creating timeless hits that carried deep feelings.
Now, baby, we'll make love tonight. Don't be afraid.
But behind all that emotion was a personal story he could never speak about publicly. His gift for writing about love, heartbreak, and longing came from real experiences he had to keep private in the strict music world of the 1960s and 70s. Bristol's songs often carried hidden meanings. The lyrics sounded like simple love songs to most people, but for others, especially those who shared his reality, they spoke of deeper truths. He had a rare way of making emotion feel raw and honest, even while hiding his own pain behind the music. The studio became his safe place, where he could express himself freely without judgment. It was one of the few places he could turn his hidden emotions into something beautiful.
You're a romantic individual.
I believe in love. I think love is very important in everything.
Yeah, amen.
I love my work, and I seem to feel it by loving it.
Working with other producers gave him rare moments of connection and an outlet for his emotions. Ironically, many of Motown's most romantic songs came from a man who couldn't love openly. Keeping up a straight image weighed on him, and the emotion in his music came from that silence. Johnny Bristol's success was great, but it cost him his truth. Then there's Marlon Jackson. As part of the Jackson 5, one of Motown's biggest success stories, Marlon grew up under a mix of heavy pressure, strict image control, and complicated family expectations. The group was sold as the picture-perfect American family, and any small step outside that image could shake the entire brand. Their wholesome look wasn't just about music. It was a business strategy that helped them cross racial lines and win over fans everywhere. Berry Gordy made sure every part of their lives fit that clean image, right down to how they acted, who they dated, and what they said in interviews. For Marlon, things got tricky as he got older. People started to notice his softer side and artistic nature, and in a world that prized tough masculinity, that made him stand out. Behind the scenes, Joseph Jackson's strict parenting didn't make things easier. He ran the boys' lives like a business, demanding discipline and perfection, and any hint of difference was seen as a threat to everything they'd built. Motown and the Jacksons worked hard to protect their image, setting up fake dates and managing every rumor. Marlon had to play along, even when it didn't feel real. As the group got bigger, the pressure to stay perfect grew, and his voice was often ignored.
Everybody asks me that question, and the first thing I tell them, a stage is a stage. I give 100% if there's 5, 6 people around me or no one around me.
Growing up in that system made it hard for him to figure out who he really was when everyone else had already decided for him. Next up is David Ruffin. Everyone knows that voice, powerful, soulful, unforgettable. His vocals on songs like My Girl made him the heart of the Temptations. But behind all that fame and charm, David's real life was far more complicated than the smooth image Motown sold to the world. The label painted him as a confident ladies' man, but that image hid a lot. Deep down, David was struggling with who he really was, and Motown worked hard to keep that hidden by spinning stories and creating distractions that kept fans focused on everything but the truth. His life looked glamorous from the outside, but inside, he was fighting himself. The label made sure stories about his relationships with women were all over the press, partly to protect his reputation, and partly to cover up the parts of his life they didn't want people to see. But the people who knew him best knew that his closest emotional ties didn't always match what fans believed. That double life tore at him, forcing him to act a version of himself that didn't feel real. The pressure to fit Motown's image of masculinity took a toll on him, and it showed in his behavior. His drug use and mood swings were more than addiction. They reflected a man torn between his public image and private truth.
He was involved when they went to Europe. They had the hallucinogens. It's kind of difficult to change everything. Over these years, he still had to fight that monster. He had all kind of extremes.
Leaving the Temptations wasn't just about fame or drugs. It was deeper. His pain fueled his voice, and music became the only place he could truly be himself. Another act from the Temptations who was believed to be gay was Eddie Kendricks. Eddie Wee was the man with that unforgettable falsetto that defined the Temptations' sound. Songs like Just My Imagination and The Way You Do the Things You Do made him one of Motown's biggest stars. Loved by millions for his soft, romantic voice and smooth image. But behind that charm was a more complicated story that Motown worked hard to hide. Eddie was carefully packaged as the ultimate ladies' man, the gentle heartthrob every woman wanted. Every photo shoot, TV appearance, and interview was designed to keep that image alive and profitable. Behind the scenes, rumors about his sexuality spread, and Motown worked hard to control the story, arranging appearances with women and hiding his private life. To fans, Eddie was the perfect romantic, but those close to him saw a man torn between his truth and the image the world expected. As the Temptations got bigger, the pressure overwhelmed Eddie. He started pulling away, skipping shows, and avoiding the spotlight. Going solo was his way of taking control, but the expectations never left. His songs carried the pain he couldn't express. The emotion that made his voice unique also made him vulnerable in an industry that hid vulnerability.
I just kept on hanging around you.
Eddie could sing about love, but never live it freely. Up next is Norman Whitfield. He's the genius who changed the Motown sound with songs like I Heard It Through the Grapevine and The Temptations' wild psychedelic soul era. But behind all that innovation was a man who understood what it meant to live with different sides of himself. Whitfield's music wasn't just about catchy hooks. It came from a place of depth, from someone who knew how it felt to wear many faces in different rooms. His production style was bold and layered, full of sounds that didn't always seem to belong together, but somehow worked perfectly. That mix mirrored his own life, where he often had to act one way in public and another in private. People in the industry whispered about his sexuality, but just like with others at Motown, those rumors were kept quiet to protect his reputation and the label's image. In those days, keeping up a straight image wasn't optional. It was business. Whitfield's creativity came from living outside society's boxes, and you can hear it in songs like Psychedelic Shack and Ball of Confusion, restless, raw, and full of emotion. The studio was his escape, where he could express what he couldn't say out loud. His work shaped generations, but the pain behind his genius stayed hidden. In a world that demanded conformity, he found his truth in the music. Now for the fifth person on the list, Billy Preston. When he joined Motown in 1979, he was already a legend. He had played with the Beatles, written hits, and earned his spot among the greats. But behind the fame was a man carrying pain that had followed him since childhood. At just 9 years old, while touring with an Amos and Andy production, Billy was abused by the group's pianist. When he tried to tell his mother, she didn't believe him, and later, a local pastor also took advantage of him. Those experiences left scars that shaped his struggles with both his faith and his sexuality.
He was really tormented by that. That's what basically screwed up his entire life, was that situation that happened when he was a little boy, about 9 years old.
People close to him in the industry, like Keith Richards, knew about his sexuality, but Billy's deep Christian faith made it hard for him to accept that part of himself. That inner battle never stopped, and when he got to Motown, it only got worse. The label's clean, family-friendly image didn't leave room for anyone who didn't fit the mold. Billy had to smile for the cameras while quietly drowning in guilt, confusion, and addiction. Things went downhill after his breakup with Kathy Silva, who was involved with Sly Stone. The betrayal broke him, and his manager said that's when he gave up on women and turned to heavy drug use. Between 1979 and 1984, he released 4 albums, but his life was crumbling.
Trusted people to do his business, and then they screw him, and then the next thing is, more drugs and more alcohol.
He finally came out during therapy, though by then, the damage was already done. Next, there's Johnny Gill. Johnny dropped his second album, Chemistry, in 1985, and not long after, he joined New Edition.
Never been too good.
His smooth vocals helped shape their 1988 album, Heartbreak, and he kept shining both as a solo artist and with the R&B supergroup LSG, alongside Keith Sweat and Gerald Levert. His career was impressive, and his circle of friends was just as star-studded, including actor and comedian Eddie Murphy and boxer Sugar Ray Leonard. For a long time, nobody really knew much about Johnny's love life until 2005, when things took a surprising turn. That year, a website called Atlanta Gossip posted an interview with a woman who claimed to be Johnny's ex. She said Johnny had been struggling with sexuality and that Hollywood pushed him to appear straight by dating women. According to her, they broke up in early 2005 because she felt something was off about his friendship with Eddie Murphy. She said the bond between them seemed too close, adding that she could never quite understand it. Their breakup came just before Eddie's wife, Nicole Murphy, filed for divorce. Around then, rumors spread that Johnny had moved into Eddie's guest house, adding fuel to talk about his private life. He never addressed the gossip, staying focused on music and leaving fans curious about the man behind the smooth voice.
Yeah. I went for years of hearing people talking about, oh, Johnny's gay, and Eddie and Johnny. And I heard that shit for years.
You haven't made it unless you have a gay man.
Unless you have a gay man.
Then there's Luther Vandross, one of R&B's smoothest voices.
Another chance, another walk.
He launched his solo career in 1981 with Never Too Much, which topped the Billboard R&B chart. He went on to write and produce for stars like Dionne Warwick and Diana Ross, later crossing into pop with hits like Power of Love, The Best Things in Life Are Free with Janet Jackson, and Endless Love with Mariah Carey. Dance with My Father earned him a Grammy in 2003. Behind the fame, though, Luther's personal life was something he kept private. Many people in the industry knew about his sexuality, but he never spoke about it publicly. Writer Bruce Valanche once said Luther stayed deep in the closet, while journalist Michael Musto mentioned that everyone in show business knew, even if it wasn't openly discussed. Patti LaBelle once recalled how Luther used to sneak backstage pretending to be a designer, bringing her group beautiful dresses she never forgot. Despite his charm and success, he struggled with loneliness, once saying, "I want somebody who's not on payroll to care about where I am." He died in 2005 at 54, leaving behind timeless songs and a voice that, as Patti said, left a stamp on everyone. His music spoke of the love he never truly had.
Yeah, my friend Luther was gay. But he was, I'm not going to say that of Luther, he's not here to talk about it. Maybe he didn't want to say that, but you know certain ones of your friends who aren't into certain things. And he was an amazing artist.
Close the door. Let me give you what you've been waiting for.
Next on the list is Teddy Pendergrass, Theodore DeReese. Pendergrass became one of R&B's most powerful voices after singing with groups like Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. His deep baritone made him unforgettable, though his personal life stirred just as much curiosity as his music. When his song, I Am Who I Am, came out, fans started wondering what message he was really sending. Some thought the song was inspired by the trans community or written for performers in underground clubs. Over time, talk about Teddy's sexuality became a hot topic. In his autobiography, he shared experiences that hinted at attraction to men, including stories about encounters and relationships that never made headlines. People who worked with him added to the speculation. Kenny Gamble once said Teddy was definitely gay, and his former manager, Shep Gordon, claimed Teddy lived openly that way in private circles. He also formed strong friendships within the gay community, especially with designer Willie Smith. Still, Teddy never publicly confirmed any of it. Gloria Gaynor's version of I Am Who I Am, retitled I Am What I Am, became a gay anthem and sparked more rumors. Still, Teddy never spoke about his sexuality and kept his personal life private. Whether he was gay or not remains unclear, but he was a man of mystery who poured his heart into music while keeping his truth to himself. Now, to the ladies. There was Florence Ballard.
Well, I think I'm going out of my head.
Most people know her as one of the founding members of the Supremes, and the stories about her struggles often point to jealousy and personal issues. But the real story runs much deeper. Florence's problems weren't just about fame or Diana Ross taking the spotlight. They were about identity, pressure, and the pain of living a life that didn't feel like her own. As the Supremes became more famous, their image turned more glamorous and flirtatious. For Florence, that change was uncomfortable. Rumors about her sexuality began to spread, and Motown handled it harshly because any hint that a Supreme might not be interested in men could ruin the group's appeal. The label sold them as every man's dream, graceful, charming, and desirable. And Florence's discomfort didn't fit that mold. She began feeling isolated as her bandmates embraced an image she couldn't keep up with. Every performance felt like pretending, and the pressure led to drinking and instability. The voice that helped shape Motown was breaking under the weight of a false identity. Her discomfort made her hard to manage, and when she could no longer fake the image, Motown let her go. Behind the scenes, she found comfort in secret friendships and relationships. The tragedy of Florence Ballard's life was that her talent made her famous, but kept her from being herself.
She had a lot of issues going on that no one knew about. Mary knew. And Mary knew how hard it was for her. The bigger they got, the bigger the issues got. The more depressed she got.
Martha Reeves is another name that stands out when talking about Motown's gay women. As the lead singer of Martha and the Vandellas, she had a voice and presence that demanded attention. She was strong, confident, and full of energy. But those same qualities made people in the industry see her as a problem. Back then, women were expected to be soft, quiet, and easy to manage, and Martha didn't fit that mold. To protect her career and keep the group marketable, her true self had to be carefully controlled. Her confidence and stage command made her a star, but off stage, she had to tone it down. The industry loved her power on stage, but didn't want her showing too much independence behind the scenes. Publicists worked hard to shape her image as a traditional, feminine woman and avoid any rumors that didn't match that image. Even talk about her being close to certain women was shut down fast because it didn't fit the narrative Motown wanted to sell. Privately, Martha felt trapped, expected to lead yet stay soft to please audiences. It left her feeling isolated, unable to trust others in the industry. Her songs about strength reflected her true self, even if she couldn't show it. The tragedy was that her best qualities had to be hidden in an industry afraid of strong women. Let's end with Sylvester James, a man who truly lived life on his own terms. Sylvester was openly gay and never hid it, even when the world was far less accepting. Known for his powerful voice, bold fashion, and love for disco, R&B, and soul, he became one of the brightest stars of the 1970s and 1980s. His energy, confidence, and refusal to conform made him a legend in both music and the LGBTQ community. In the early 70s, Sylvester dated Michael Lyons, and though same-sex marriage wasn't legal, they held a ceremony at Golden Gate Park. He later dated model John Maley, even dedicating Can't Forget the Love to him. His relationships were full of passion and heartbreak. In 1982, he dated Tom Daniels, but it ended over trust issues. Then came Rick Cranmer, who fell ill with AIDS, and Sylvester cared for him until his death in 1987, a loss that shattered him. Not long after, Sylvester was diagnosed with the same disease. Even as his health declined, he used his voice to spread AIDS awareness, especially in the Black community. By 1988, too weak to perform, he still appeared at the San Francisco Gay Freedom Parade to cheering fans.
When I went to visit him, that's when he told me he had AIDS. And I gave him all of my support.
He passed away that December at 41, leaving behind a legacy of courage, love, and truth.